Hey YouTube, Mactics here. Today I have a follow-up video regarding my recent Omnioculus playbook guide. If you haven't seen that already, I have it linked in the description, so make sure to check it out. With Void 3.0 coming in Witch Queen, we knew there were going to be some changes to the Void subclasses, which in turn means that there will be changes to the way we play Omnioculus Hunter. In my guide video, I predicted that the playstyle will overall remain the same, but with a few small tweaks, and now that we have learned a lot more about Void 3.0 from Vidocs, Bungie articles, and podcasts, it seems like that prediction was indeed correct. Nevertheless, I wanted to touch on everything we know about Hunter Void 3.0 and let you know what changes to expect to Omnioculus Hunter with the Witch Queen update. We will start with a quick refresh on the 3.0 systems and how they function. Next, we will take a brief walkthrough of the Void 3.0 verbs that Bungie is using to describe the new suite of abilities coming in Witch Queen. After that, we will discuss the Void 3.0 Hunter-specific aspects, followed by the Void 3.0 class-agnostic fragments. Once we know all of that, we can talk about what will be transferring over to the Void 3.0 system that we have right now, the things we will be losing, and the new tools we will have in our toolbox. And to wrap up, we will discuss what the new playstyle will look like. Spoiler alert, the fundamentals remain the same, but we have a few tweaks in the execution. I know most of you have probably already seen a lot of this information, but trust me when I say this one is worth watching all the way through, as these chapters will build upon each other to reach the conclusion of how 3.0 Omnioculus Hunter will be played in the Witch Queen. So buckle up, drop a like on the video, throw a smoke bomb at that subscribe button, and let's get started. The 3.0 subclass menus function far different than what we have in Subclass 2.0 today, as we know from Stasis. Each 3.0 subclass brings a suite of grenades, melee abilities, jumps, and supers as usual. Where things get a little different is with the introduction of aspects and fragments. Aspects are class-specific perks that modify your subclass's abilities, while fragments are non-class-specific perks, meaning all three classes share access to all of them, that are a little less impactful than aspects. You can equip 2 aspects at a time, and the amount of fragment slots you have available is based on which aspects you have. For example, some aspects might grant only 1 fragment slot, while others might grant 2 or 3. Now that we are all refreshed on the 3.0 systems, let's talk about the verbs Bungie is using to describe the Void 3.0 abilities. First, we have Suppress, which means the target is taken out of any active ability, and while suppressed, they cannot activate any abilities or movement modes. PvE combatants are simply disoriented. Next up, we have Weaken, where the target takes increased damage, has slowed movement, and is disoriented. This increased damage is 15% as confirmed by Kevin Yanis on the Destiny Community podcast. Next up is Volatile, where the target will explode and avoid detonation upon taking additional damage, and if the target dies before Volatile has taken enough damage to detonate, then the detonation happens anyway. And finally, as it pertains to Hunters, we have Invisibility, where the player vanishes from sight and does not appear on radar. We also have Overshield and Devour as Void 3.0 verbs, but they don't really pertain to the Hunter subclass in any way, so we're not really going to mention them here. Next up, let's take a look at the Void 3.0 specific Hunter aspects that Void 3.0 is shipping with. First up, we have Trapper's Ambush, where the player can activate Quick Fall to spend their melee charge and dive to the ground, creating a smoke cloud upon impact. Enemies caught in the cloud are weakened, and allies become invisible. In addition, snare bombs, upon attaching to surfaces or enemies, cause nearby allies to become invisible as well. Now, there has been some confusion around this one recently as to whether or not we can still throw the smoke bomb to make allies invisible, or if we can only use it with the dive. Though I can't say with 100% certainty, I think it is safe to assume that the smoke bomb is still throwable, as it simply makes no sense to remove this piece of functionality and only allow for it to be used with the Quick Fall ability. Additionally, I know it says allies become invisible, but according to the footage shown from the Bungie article, the player character is included in the term allies, as the Void Dive makes the player character invisible upon use. Next up is Vanishing Step, where dodging makes the hunter invisible. Simple enough. And finally, we have Stylish Executioner, where defeating a Void debuff target, which means a target that is either weakened, suppressed, or volatile, grants invisibility and true sight. While invisible, and after a Stylish Execution, your next melee attack weakens enemies. This aspect plays on the loop of weaken, kill, invisible, weaken, and seems to loop with itself really well. We will touch on it a bit more in the playstyle chapter though. Moving on to fragments, as of right now, we know about 7 fragments in total coming in Void 3.0, 4 of which came from the Closer Look at Void 3.0 article on Bungie.net, with the other 3 coming from the Witch Queen Vidoc. In this video, I am only going to mention the fragments that we would consider utilizing with Omnioculus Hunter though, which are 3 of them. The first is Echo of Provision, where damaging enemies with grenades grants melee energy, which is basically the grenade damage refunding melee energy half of what used to be combat provision. Next up is Echo of Undermining, where void grenades weaken enemies, which is a 15% oppressive darkness, something that will be brand new to Omnioculus Hunter. After that, we have Echo of Remnants, where your lingering grenade effects, such as Vortex Grenade, Void Wall, Void Spike, and Axion Bolt, have increased duration, which of course is simply what we currently know as Lockdown. It is important to note that these are only some of the fragments we know of at this time. In addition to that, Bungie said all Void fragments will be available immediately come Witch Queen, aside from a select set that will become available after the world's first raid race on March 5th. So, what are we keeping, what are we losing, and what are we gaining? Starting with keeps, we still have our smoke bomb to invis allies and ourselves as long as we are using the Trapper's Ambush aspect. We are also hanging on to the melee restoration half of combat provision and the lockdown perk as a whole from fragments. It is safe to assume that we are losing the grenade restoration half of combat provision though, as it is not featured in any hunter aspect and most likely can't be a fragment since all 3 classes need to be able to utilize all fragments, and Titans and Warlocks can't use invisibility. There is still a chance this could have been modified in some way and reworked into a fragment, but for now it's best to assume that it is gone entirely. We are also losing Heart of the Pack outright, as confirmed by Bungie Sandbox lead Kevin Yanis on the Destiny Community podcast. Despite that, we are gaining some new tricks too. We now have the ability to weaken enemies with grenades from the Echo of Undermining fragment. We also gained the new Void Dive ability from Trapper's Ambush, which personally I don't see myself getting a lot of use out of, but hey, it's there. Additionally, our smoke bombs now weaken enemies by default, and our Mobius Quiver Tether now fires a volley of 3 arrows 2 times and marks all enemies that are tethered with volatile. The final big piece we are gaining is a choice between our dodge making us invisible or kills on weakened enemies making us invisible, and to be 100% honest, I don't know which one I will be picking in Void 3.0. Dodging for invisibility is obviously very easy execution, but has an 18-second cooldown. The alternative option is invisibility every time we kill a void debuff target, which we will be doing a lot of with grenades and melee abilities that weaken enemies. I can't say with confidence which one will be better at this point in time, but I will be putting a lot of hours into both over on my stream at twitch.tv/Mactics when Witch Queen does release, so be sure to stop by and let's figure out which one is better together. So, playstyle time. To be 100% honest, things generally remain the same. We have some negatives with the loss of Heart of the Pack, but some positives with things like weaken on our grenades and smokes. The biggest change is going to be the fact that we can no longer utilize combat provision to continuously refresh our grenades. And I'm not going to lie, it's a tough blow and definitely hurts the harmonious synergy of the class a lot. But I have no doubt that there will be some new tools available to us in Witch Queen that will have us hitting just as hard, if not harder than before. And I will be right here to let you know exactly what they are once I find out myself. So throw that Omnioculus on your chest, keep that smile on your face, smash that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a great day.